This weekend marks 10 years since the collapse of US investment bank Lehman Brothers, an event that defined the global financial crisis. A decade on, debate still rages around the scale and nature of the then Rudd government's response.
It remains the biggest bankruptcy in US history, brought about because lenders had given money to people who couldn't repay. Those loans were then sold on to unwitting investors. Banks and insurers were bailed out, but Washington drew the line at Lehman Brothers.
Just tell us how you're feeling. It's awful, I know, but...
It sucks.
There were very real fears for companies and banks in Australia that relied on overseas finance.
We came within 48 hours of one or more of the big four banks in Australia falling over.
Kevin Rudd and Wayne Swan pumped government money into the economy.
The purpose of the surplus is to deal with tough times ahead.
$52 billion was spent on infrastructure, small business tax breaks and cash handouts.
So it was a big response. I think it worked. I think it was helpful.
The Rudd government had little choice but to guarantee bank deposits to ensure confidence in financial markets. But that very public acknowledgement that the banking giants are too big to fail became a double-edged sword. It's made the banks more inclined to engage in risky behaviour, the type of which we're seeing exposed at the Royal Commission.
Kevin Rudd rejects the notion that any of his actions have made the 2018 economy precarious.
Had I not acted to provide a sovereign guarantee for all Australian banking institutions, and what say one or two or three of them fell over, has anyone bothered to ask themselves what would then happen to public confidence in Australia in the banking system?
Australia now has the second highest level of household debt in the world.
I think the biggest risk is that with stagnant wage growth and $120 billion a year of interest-only loans rolling off, that there will be some kind of housing default.
The Reserve Bank has said it's not overly concerned about Australia's record level of household debt. But many analysts fear the lessons of 2008 haven't been heeded. Emma Alberici, ABC News.